Hello, my name is Alan Wade. I wanted to talk to you about understanding the Bible and also understanding the Bible alike. We're living in a day and time where many people don't think that they can understand the Bible. They're being taught that they cannot understand the Bible, and this has been going on for a very long time. There are some things that are in the Bible that are hard to understand, and there are also things that I don't believe I will ever understand. But to throw away all those simple things and all those things that we can understand in the Bible, how we are to live our life, what it is that is required of us from the Almighty to please Him. He has given us things that we can understand, and we can understand all those things that He wants us to understand. But there are still people that will say you can't understand the Bible. Many years ago, when I was working at a school district and as an electrician, and I was taking a break, sitting in my truck, and one of the coworkers came up to me and wanted to know what I was doing, and I said, well, I'm reading the Bible. He says, well, you can't understand that. Why would he say such a thing? Somehow, someone or himself put this into his head that you cannot understand the Bible. But it's a lie. Don't let anybody ever tell you that you cannot understand the Bible. Paul the Apostle said, and by referring to this, when you read, you can understand my insight into the mystery of Christ. Paul also, when he wrote to Timothy, said, be diligent to present yourself approved to God, a workman who does not need to be ashamed, handling accurately the word of truth. King James says, rightly dividing. Information that was given and a command given to Timothy, which of course Timothy is just a man. That I have to handle accurately the word of truth. You have to handle accurately the word of truth. It's not right for us to corrupt the thought and the meaning of the words that is in the Bible. And God is not, through Paul, is not going to give words to mankind, that is, handling accurately the word of truth, if we cannot do that. But that's exactly what people are saying when they say, you can't understand the Bible. But we can. Continuing this thought that we don't allow anyone to tell us that we cannot understand the Bible, not to accept that, we also should not allow and accept someone telling us that we cannot understand the Bible alike. This is Satan's way of keeping people in a state of division, in a state of chaos, in a state of being discouraged to the point that we're not going to struggle, we're not going to work, we're not going to put out the effort to understand the Bible alike. There is a phrase that some people will say that goes somewhat like this. Well, you can understand the Bible any way you want. That's just your interpretation. The mistake that people are making is that's the wrong phrase. With the Almighty, it isn't that way. He's not going to accept that. You either understand Him just as He says it, and we all understand it alike, or you just have a plain misunderstanding about what's being written. You understand what I'm talking about right now, don't you? Is that so hard? Is it so hard to understand the words that I'm saying right now? I'm sure there are some people, on one hand, they're saying, you can't understand the Bible. as to what I'm talking about. And others are saying, yes, you can. So even though people can understand plainly what I'm saying right now, there's going to be some that disagree and that's some that will agree. And what I'm talking about right now is not about whether you agree or not. That's something that we can do afterwards. That's something that comes later. The first part is to understand it and accept it. So maybe that's just it. Maybe some people do understand it, they just don't want it. They disagree with it. And so, for those people, I would like to suggest that you reevaluate your life and see where it's at. I know there are some people they'd rather stand with Satan than stand with God. Now, to understand the Bible and to understand it alike, there are a number of rules that we need to follow, and there are some tools that we can have at our disposal that will help us to accomplish that end. One of the first rules that we need to understand, and that is to keep the meaning and the thought of what someone is saying as accurate as possible. So we kind of talked about being accurate. But that's one of the rules. It's not right for people to mishandle and to change what it is that someone is saying. And this happens so often, how people treat the Bible when they're trying to determine what it's saying. For some reason, they think they have to change what is being said. That violates the first rule. I don't want you to misunderstand what I'm saying right now. And certainly God does not want you to misunderstand what He has authored in the Bible. So keep it as accurate as possible. The other things that we might do as far as rules are concerned, we need to ask ourselves questions like who, what, when, where, and how. Who's doing the writing? To whom was it written? Does it apply to us? There are some things in the Bible that applies to us, and there's some things that don't. Asking questions such as, what are the circumstances? Who are the people? Are they the Jews? Or is it to all nations that it's being addressed? The Bible was written over a period of about 1,500 years. So some of it was written in the Old Testament. Some of it is written in the New Testament. These are some of the questions that we've got to ask ourselves. Who's doing the talking? Is it Satan? Is it one of the apostles? Is it Moses? Is it Jesus? All those things need to be included. When you read a particular passage, sometimes we have to read verses that are before and verses that are after in order to understand the context. There may be even a context that's not just there but someplace else in the Bible, such as something I'm going to talk about in a moment, about a tool that we can use to help us in understanding that maybe there's a remote context. Maybe it's in another book, like an Old Testament prophecy referring to something that was fulfilled in the New Testament. So we need to learn the rules and stick to the rules, and if we do that, we'll be able to come to a proper understanding. Now, in this short video, we're not going to be able to cover everything, but that just is like a starter to help us in understanding the Bible. The final thing I'd like to talk about concerning understanding the Bible and understanding the Bible alike, the things that we could use such as tools. And what I mean by that would be tools like dictionaries. Words are vehicles to understanding. And so we've got to understand what words mean and how they're defined and how they're used so that we can have a proper understanding of a passage. And so getting a definition is useful. Uh, there are other things such as concordances and even commentaries. Now, with commentaries, I put them in the same camp as with preachers. But preachers can misguide us. So the final analysis of that is that we've got to check it out for ourselves and be very careful where we go with what other people are saying. Now, I'm going to read a passage to you that will, I think, help to apply this, what I'm talking about right now. And it may almost seem contradictory to what we started off with at the beginning of this video. But I want you to know that there is no contradiction here. But let me read the passage. It's found in Acts the 8th chapter regarding Philip running up to the chariot of the Ethiopian eunuch who was reading. He was reading the book of Isaiah. So here is some of the conversation between Philip and the Ethiopian eunuch in Acts the 8th chapter starting from verse 30. And when Philip had run up, he heard him preaching or reading Isaiah the prophet and said, "Do you understand what you are reading?" And he said, "Well, how could I unless someone guides me?" And he invited Philip to come up and sit with him. And so there's some passages here referring to the book of Isaiah. I'm not going to read that, but I wanted to read verse 34. And the eunuch answered Philip and said, "Please tell me, of whom does the prophet say of this, of himself or of someone else?" What we find here is that the Ethiopian eunuch, in answering Philip that he could not understand something unless someone guides him, he's not saying that he could not understand the Bible or even understand some things that he's reading. It's just this one particular thing that he needed some guidance on. And that's a smart thing to do. It's good for us to seek out those, and there are some people that don't teach and preach correctly, but if we can find those that are teaching and preaching correctly, it's good to have some of their help. But in the final analysis of it, you have to make your own decision, just like the Ethiopian eunuch did here. He made his own decision and recognized the truth in what was being said, and he obeyed the gospel. Each of us has to do the same. We need to check this information out for ourselves, and we will have to give an account to God of those things that we have trusted in. And so these videos were designed just for that purpose, so that you can apply some things to help you in trying to get a proper understanding and an understanding that God would have us to have of the Bible. Thank you for watching.